White CEO refuses to shake black woman's hand. Next day, learns she owns 55% of his company. The refusal was small, almost invisible, the kind that could be explained away if anyone wanted to. A pause. A glance past her shoulder. A hand that never quite met hers. Elena Brooks felt it anyway. The conference room at Halcyon Systems gleamed with glass and chrome, a place designed to make people feel important, or small. Elena stood at the end of the long table, portfolio tucked neatly under her arm, navy coat draped over one forearm. She had arrived early, as she always did, and waited while assistants arranged water and legal pads as if preparing for a ceremony. Richard Halvorsen swept in 10 minutes late, voice already filling the room. White-haired, sharp-suited, confident in the way men become when the world has rarely told them no. He moved down the line of executives, shaking hands briskly, exchanging practiced smiles. When he reached Elena, he nodded once and kept moving. For a beat, her hand hovered in the air between them. Then it lowered, slow and deliberate. No one said anything. A few eyes flickered toward her, then away. The meeting began as if nothing had happened. Elena took her seat without comment. She had learned long ago that reacting in moments like this often gave others permission to dismiss her entirely. Instead, she opened her notebook and listened. Richard spoke about market expansion, about trimming unnecessary divisions, about loyalty and leadership. His words slid across the table polished and confident, but Elena heard the small fractures beneath them, the places where certainty masked fear. Halcyon Systems was bleeding quietly. The stock price held, barely, but the foundation was fragile. Elena knew because she had studied every line, every acquisition, every hidden liability. She had not come to argue. She had come to observe. Across the table, Martin Klein, the CFO, cleared his throat. As you all know, today's meeting includes our newest board representative. Richard glanced down the table, brows knitting slightly. Ah, yes, Ms. Elena Brooks, she said calmly. He gave a thin smile. Of course. Welcome. That was all. The meeting stretched on. When it ended, Richard gathered his things and left quickly, already talking into his phone. Elena rose, slid on her coat, and headed for the elevator. In the mirrored walls, she caught her reflection. Mid-30s, calm eyes, a face that revealed nothing unless she wanted it to. Her phone buzzed. How did it go? Daniel, she smiled faintly. Exactly as expected. Elena's journey to that boardroom had not been straight. She had grown up in a quiet neighborhood outside Baltimore, the daughter of a public school teacher and a mechanic who believed in fixing things rather than replacing them. Money had been tight but not desperate. What they had in abundance was time. Time spent at the kitchen table doing homework, time listening, time learning how systems worked and why some people were locked out of them. Her mother taught her words mattered. Her father taught her silence could too. She learned early how to read rooms, how to recognize when her presence unsettled people, and how to let that discomfort sit without trying to soften it. College came on scholarships. Finance followed. Then years of working behind the scenes, where decisions were made quietly and power shifted hands without ceremony. When her mentor, an aging investor with a sharp mind and failing health, invited her to manage his private equity holdings, she accepted without hesitation. She didn't need her name on buildings. She needed leverage. And Halcyon Systems, with its brilliant engineers and careless leadership, was leverage waiting to be used. Richard Halvorsen slept poorly that night. Not because of Elena Brooks. At least, not consciously. He woke before dawn, mind racing through numbers and deadlines. The overseas deal was stalling. The board was restless. Investors wanted reassurance he wasn't sure he could give. At breakfast, his wife skimmed the paper. There's a profile on emerging board leaders, she said. Someone named Elena Brooks is mentioned. Richard barely looked up. Common name. She's described as formidable. He smiled thinly. Journalists love drama. At the office, Martin intercepted him. We need to talk about yesterday. Richard frowned. About what? Martin hesitated. Your interaction with Ms. Brooks. Richard waved it off. I was distracted. Martin nodded, but his expression didn't ease. She's not just a token appointment, Richard. None of them are, Richard snapped. That's why they're here. Martin said nothing more, but the silence lingered. The next morning, Richard walked into the boardroom to find an unfamiliar energy in the air. Conversations stopped when he entered. Phones were set face down. Even the chairs seemed arranged with more care. Elena sat near the center this time. She rose when he entered. "Good morning," she said. Richard paused, something tightening in his chest. He extended his hand. Elena met it briefly, professionally, then released. The meeting began. Martin stood. "Before we start, there's an update regarding our ownership structure." Richard blinked. "Ownership structure?" "Yes," Martin said carefully. "As of yesterday, the Brooks-Hartman Trust completed its consolidation." The room felt suddenly smaller. Richard turned toward Elena. "I wasn't aware of any." Elena met his gaze, calm and steady. "You were informed," she said. "It was in the documents circulated last quarter." Martin continued, voice even. "The trust now holds a controlling interest. 55%. Silence. Richard felt heat rise in his face. "That's not possible." Elena opened her portfolio and slid a document across the table. "It is." He stared at the paper, numbers blurring. "You," he said slowly, looking up. "You own." "I represent the trust," Elena replied. "Yes." Something inside Richard cracked. Not loudly, but enough that he felt it. Years of certainty rearranged themselves in a heartbeat. The meeting adjourned early. They spoke privately that afternoon. Richard's office overlooked the city, all glass and skyline. Elena stood by the window while he paced. "You should have said something," he said. "I did," she replied gently. "You didn't listen." He stopped. "Is this about yesterday?" The handshake. She turned to face him. "No." He waited. "This is about the company," she continued. "Its people, its future." He scoffed weakly. "And what happens to me in that future?" Elena considered him for a moment. Not as an adversary, but as a man standing at the edge of change. "That depends," she said, "on what you do next." Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then gathered her things. "I'll see you at the next meeting." When she left, Richard remained where he was, the city stretching endlessly beyond the glass. Over the following weeks, things shifted. Decisions were reviewed. Voices previously ignored were invited into the room. Elena didn't humiliate Richard or sideline him. She asked questions, listened, redirected. She noticed people. The receptionist who knew every executive's coffee order. The junior analyst whose ideas had been borrowed without credit. The engineer who stayed late to fix problems no one else saw. Small changes accumulated. Richard watched, uncertain at first, then quietly attentive. One evening, he stayed late and found Elena in the conference room alone, studying projections. "You didn't have to do this," he said. She looked up. "Do what?" "Help me." She smiled slightly. "I'm helping the company." He nodded. After a pause, he said, "I didn't see you." "I know," she replied. They stood in silence, the hum of the building around them. Outside, the city lights flickered on, one by one.